side, the light side. Great photo opportunity right now. Free Sam. Wow, you're looking amazing. You too, Sam. Oh. Thank you. And hello.
Don't mind them. Don't mind them.
Okay.
They're cool.
Okay.
They're cool.
Bye. That's cool. Hi, Sam.
Hi.
How are you today?
I'm okay. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. A little bit tired, but
Good. Well, nice talking to you.
yeah, but no. How was your first day yesterday?
It was cool. It was great. It was great. Everyone was very, very nice. How was your first day?
Long?
Yeah.
Yeah. But great.
Cool.
All the guests are great. The fans are the best.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
I agree. How are you guys doing? Good?
So who wants to talk about Star Wars? This guy knows everything about Star Wars. No, that's true.
Well, I don't know if I know everything about Star Wars. I know a thing or two.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's prove it. First question.
Uh-oh.
Hello.
Hi.
I'm a big fan of Force Unleashed, and 2 ended on a very big cliffhanger.
Yes, it did.
And I wanted to ask you, how does the story go? Or is that confidential, or wasn't it planned out?
You want to get me fired, don't you? Here's the thing. The story for 3, as we were working on, it was going to change the way you thought about the first 2. It was really wild. But I learned from Dave Filoni, because when the Clone Wars was canceled, I tried over and over again to get him to tell me about the Siege of Mandalore, and he wouldn't do it. And I'm like, why? Why won't you? The show was canceled. What were we going to do? He's like, I'm not going to tell you. And then years later, we came back and we got to tell that story. So I can't tell you what we had planned, because there's never been a time in Star Wars, in the existence of Star Wars, where it's more possible that anything can happen. I mean, my God, we had Luke Skywalker show up fighting Dark Troopers. Spoiler alert. The Clone Wars came back. I got to do Darth Maul in a movie, for God's sakes. So I'm not, and Star Killer's in Galaxy of Heroes now. So I had to actually, Lucasfilm had to call me up and be like, hey, what do you think? I'm like, yeah. So I'm not discounting anything, and I'm not going to tell you anything. No way, man. No way. But it's a very cool story. In fact, it's probably the most challenging story of the 3. Most whacked out, scary, messed up. And I'll just say that one of the main things was it was going to put Darth Vader on the top of the list as the scariest guy in the galaxy. It was going to be very, very frightening.
Great, thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
You were just talking about you voicing Darth Maul in Clone Wars and other things. How did it come to be, and what do you think of the way they developed the character over time, especially going to season 7?
Well, the way that I got the role was I did Force Unleashed, and that led someone at Lucasfilm, presumably Dave, I guess, think it was a good idea to bring me over into Clone Wars, where I played a character called the Son of Mortis, right? I don't know if you know those episodes where they go to this strange, weird dreamland. And it was scary because Force Unleashed, I felt like Force Unleashed was very well received. So I already felt like I dodged a Star Wars bullet that was aimed at my head. Because I'm a Star Wars fan, right? I don't want to do something that's going to make the fans unhappy. So Force Unleashed, dodged a bullet. They liked it. Great. Bullet dodged. Then they're like, oh, great, come over to Clone Wars. You're going to be playing the Son of Mortis. I'm like, great, what's that? Oh, he's the dark side of the Force. And I'm like, what character is he? Like, no, he's the dark side of the Force. That's who you're playing. So then suddenly, I feel like a red dot on my forehead from the fans, and I'm like, oh no. And then we did the Son of Mortis.
That was a special episode.
And then it was 3 episodes, and then they liked it, and I felt like I dodged a bullet, right? So then no sooner does that happen that Dave says, there might be something down the road for you. And I'm like, cool. And he's like, by the way, you've probably heard we're going to bring Darth Maul back. What do you think about that? I'm like, I don't know if that's a good idea. And he's like, okay, well, I'll see you in a bit. And I'm like, all right. So then I'm driving down the street, and I'd been warned that Dave is going to give me a phone call. I've been warned by like 4 people. Like, a phone call is coming today. And I'm like, all right. So I'm driving, and then the phone rings. And it's Lucasfilm. They're like, hey, we have a phone call from Dave Filoni. So I was wise enough to pull the car over. So I pull it over, I put it in park, and I'm like, hey, Dave. He's like, hey, Sam, listen, I'm just going to cut to it. I need Darth Maul. Can you do it? There was no, hi, how are you doing? There was no, how's it going? How's your Friday? No. It was just, I need Darth Maul. Can you do it? And he wasn't asking, would you like to do that? Would it be fun? Are you available? He wasn't saying that. He was saying, are you going to mess this up? Are you the guy for this role? Be straight with me. Is it a mistake to hire you for this? So, as I am, sort of versed in the ways of the Sith, I figured the only Sith answer was to lie to him and say, yeah, I can do that. You want me to do it right now? I could do it right now. I just don't feel like it. I'm not going to do it right now, but I could do it. Yeah, no problem. So then me and Dave talked for months and months and months, trying to build this character in our minds. And we have these conversations about Gollum, and conversations about Colonel Kurtz from Apocalypse Now, and which George Lucas was going to direct. We had conversations about Khan from Star Trek, and all these things. Why are these great characters? Why do these stick with us? And so we started to try to put together who this character was inside. And I don't ever recall him saying, well, the voice has to sound like this. No, he was just like, let's get him psychologically dialed in. Let's figure out what we want to do with this character. And he gave me all the information that George had at that time. George had furnished us with all this story material. So we knew where it was going to a certain extent. And then one day I had to show up to the studio, and he's supposed to be a raving lunatic with these garbage spider legs that were animated by the dark side of the Force. And further, Katie Lucas, George's daughter, she wrote a great script, but she never said what Maul was saying, mumbling in that cave. It just said, he's mumbling things. And he never said what he said. He's like, there was nothing in the script. So I had to
mumbling.
So I had to come up with all of that. I had to make up all of the stuff that he mumbles in the cave. And so here I am in the studio, and there's a bunch of Lucasfilm people, and there's cameras back there, and there's all kinds of stuff, all behind glass, and I'm alone in this booth. And they're like, okay, Sam, let her rip. And I'm just like, I just started going nuts, like, the dark side of the Force, and all this stuff. And I lost it for about like a minute and a half. Count out like 90 seconds worth of material of me going, always remember I am fear. Always remember I am a hunter. Always remember I am filth. Always remember I am nothing. This whole thing. And I go through the whole thing for like 90 seconds. And then they say, cut. And then I'm just standing there. And then like 10 seconds goes by, silence. I'm like, 20 seconds goes by. I'm like, okay, I am now living in the world where I've destroyed this character for all time, and the fans are coming for me. That red dot on my forehead that I talked about, the fans aiming at me, it's become like 3 red dots, like Predator. It's become, the Predator is now aiming at me. And then after about 35 seconds of standing there like an idiot, finally Dave Filoni, and they're all talking in there. They're all having a discussion. And I'm thinking the discussion is, how do we tell him to not do what he just did? And then eventually Dave hits his button, he goes, oh, Sam, so sorry. We are just having a discussion about my immense wisdom in hiring you for this role. And I was like, okay. He's like, you want to go again? I'm like, yes, I'd love to go again. Let's go again. So that was the whole ordeal for getting that role and how that happened.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hi.
I'm nervous, but yeah.
All good.
So yesterday you said you know every single alien from Star Wars.
I don't know if I know every single. That's a big galaxy, man.
But you said, okay, from the...
You're putting words in my mouth, man. Not.
I have it on camera, on a video.
You do not. This is a lie. He's lying. He's lying.
So which 3 aliens from Star Wars are your favorite?
3 aliens. Ewoks. Rhodians. McClunky. And Ewoks, Rhodians, and Tuskens. Tusken Raiders. How about that? Yeah. There you go. Is that good?
Yeah,
Did I get the names right?
I don't know.
Because apparently I know all of the aliens in Star Wars. Someone was telling me about that. I know everything.
So you want to count?
You trying to
more?
stump me, man, in front of these nice people?
No, I don't want to.
Okay. He's coming up here dressed like Fruit Ninja over here. trying to stump me. No, cool. Yeah. I think it's those 3. I love the Ewoks. Because without the Ewoks, Return of the Jedi is a pretty dark movie. And I really like how they offset the Emperor's presence. Because otherwise, it's just a guy going, everything that has transpired has done so according to my design. You know, you need a little bit of to offset that, you know? It's balance in the Force, my friend. Because if there isn't cuteness in Star Wars, then what are the good guys fighting for, right? Is The Mandalorian a better show with or without Grogu?
I don't know.
With. You heard it here.
Exactly, yes. With.
So Ewoks. Return of the Jedi is better with Ewoks.
Yeah.
Yes. Other questions, or should I just make noises at you guys? Yes, my young apprentice. Hello.
Hey, sorry, I'm quite nervous too. I just want to say I'm not in Star Wars at all like the other people, but I know you from Being Human, and I just want to say I really loved you as an actor from Aiden, and I really loved the series, and yeah, I'm a big fan, and I just want to say you this because I think Being Human is also a big part of your profession, and yes.
Yeah, it was an exhausting show. We had like no money to do anything. And for that reason, we were working very, very long hours. We were there from like 16 to 19 hours in the first season every day. And I think our longest day was 23 hours. That was, yeah. Do you know that there's a scene at the end of season 1 where they're all sitting on the floor and there's no couch, all the furniture's been burned, and they're all sitting on the floor and they're like, oh my God, what just happened this season? That was after that was in the 23-hour day.
Okay.
So they were like, well, if nothing else, I mean, the actors are playing it right now. They're you know, because we were just like, we don't have anything left. And, but it was, what kept us going is that we loved what the writers were doing, and we loved who the writers were and who the producers were, because they were goofballs just like us. The crew were amazing goofballs. And the cast, obviously, we were all insane. So we were always giggling. We were always laughing. And it was so funny because the crew, at first, you know, they're a bunch of Quebecois guys and girls, these Quebecois people. So they kind of talk like this, and so us Americans are like, yeah, we're so funny. And they're like, no, you're not, though. You're not very funny. But we wore them down. Like, I would go to craft service, which is where they have the food, and I'd fix myself up a bowl of Fruit Loops. And so we were like, hey, Sam, you need to be on set. I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm getting fruit, I'd say. And I'd have a bowl of Fruit Loops, you know, which is not fruit, it's made of sugar, right? But then like a week later, I'd see like the camera operator, and he wouldn't know I was there. I was like over here, and he's pouring himself Fruit Loops, and he takes the bowl, and he looks at it really thoughtfully, and he just says to himself, he goes, fruit. And then he walked off. to himself. He didn't know anyone was watching him. He was just like, fruit. You know, and I'm just like, oh, these are my people. They get me. They get it. This guy thinks fruit is important too. It's crazy. It was insane. And Sam Huntington would fart a lot, which sounds terrible, and it is, but it kept you couldn't not laugh at it. Because you'd be doing some dramatic scene and there'd be blood dripping down my face, or someone would have died, and he'd be like, Aiden, what are you doing? You can't do this. And I'm like, look, Josh, you don't understand. Get out of here. No, Aiden, you got to do this. Oh, Josh. Should we cut? Should we cut? No, we'll keep rolling. We'll keep rolling. Okay. You know, so he was hilarious. Kristen Hager never knew we were shooting for some reason. We'd be shooting a scene, and everyone's giving their all, and then they'd say, okay, cut. And she's like, oh, were we shooting? I thought we were rehearsing. We're like, Kristen, no, I just broke through a wall. Oh, I thought you were practicing breaking through a wall. I'm like, no, I broke through the wall. Why are you laughing? If you see the moment where Aiden breaks through the wall and goes, oh yeah, you can see Kristen in the back going, and then they said cut, and she's like, oh, are we shooting? Be like, what, are you going to rebuild the wall? We had one shot at this. So we had to use the take with Kristen going, and then Megan is just nuts. Megan is crazy. Megan would always walk on set and go, excuse me, vampire? And I'd be like, yes. And she's like, tell me about vampires and why you bite people. And it was just very strange. Strange set. Weird set, but really fun. Cool.
Hi.
Hi.
We were talking earlier about you playing on Twitch, and I was wondering, what's your favorite Star Wars game and your favorite non-Star Wars game you've played so far?
Favorite Star Wars game? You know, I just love the flight games. I love X-Wing, TIE Fighter, X-Wing versus TIE Fighter, X-Wing Alliance. I love Star Wars Squadrons. The flight games are really, really cool. When it comes to the other stuff, I mean, it's hard to pick a favorite. Jedi Knight was huge because there was like new Star Wars footage. Rebel Assault 2, same thing. Some of the first Star Wars footage shot since the original trilogy was in that game. Rebel Assault 2. Jedi Knight, I remember playing through Jedi Knight to get ready to do Force Unleashed, because I'm like, well, in a way, this is kind of what we're doing. We're doing this type of game. So I wanted to learn all about, you know, relearn about Kyle Katarn and kind of get my head around how to play the character and stuff. So it was really, yeah, I go way back with Star Wars games, obviously. I just adore what LucasArts did for all those years. And the new Battlefront game, I was playing Battlefront. I was playing as the Emperor, which I also voiced. But I'd forgotten all of the stuff that we had done. And so I'm playing as the Emperor, and I was hopping around and shooting lightning. I killed a guy, and then Yoda shows up, and I'm like, oh no, because this guy playing Yoda was really good, and he's flipping around and he's killing, and I'm like, oh god, and so I start kind of falling back a little bit, and then immediately, like it was cinematic, and on my screen, just on either side of the screen, white armor just converged upon Yoda on either side as all of these stormtroopers rushed in behind me to protect me, and Yoda then just takes off, and I'm just like, and I'm about to make a noise as I'm playing. I'm like, and I'm about to make a noise, and immediately I hear Palpatine with my voice going, "Run, Master Yoda!" And I'm like, wow, he was running, and then Palpatine said he was run, Master Yoda. That was me though. And that's great. I'm like, this game is awesome. So I played it again, and then Palpatine killed me and laughed at me. He goes, you die. And I was like, oh. Okay, well that sucks. I just killed myself. Anyway, I love the Star Wars games. They're great, and I loved Force Unleashed. Without Force Unleashed, I'm not here right now. I don't get to do Darth Maul. I don't get to do any of that stuff without Force Unleashed. That was the thing that put me on the map at Lucasfilm, and it was so much fun.
Thanks.
My question is always also about being human. What was your favorite scene to film?
The scene, okay, if anyone hasn't seen this, I'm just going to spoil it for you. Sally is a ghost. I play a vampire, Sam Huntington is a werewolf, and we all live in an apartment together, and we try to teach each other how to be people. And it sounds like Three's Company, like a, comedy, but it's actually a drama, but it's a very funny drama, right? Like, it's not lost on these characters how weird this is. Sally, at some point, learns how to possess people as a ghost. She goes in and out of people's bodies, but when she does, it drains her. And if she does it more than a few times, it'll drain her into nothing, and she, as a ghost, will just dissipate, waft away, and die, and she'll go, she'll be no more. So there's a scene where I get in a fight with a whole bunch of werewolves, a whole bunch of them. And they're in human form, but they're about to turn, so they're super strong, and I'm trying to hold them off, the werewolves, to buy time for my friends to escape. And it's in the last season, so we're playing it like this is the scene where my character dies, right? It's kind of nearing the end of the show, and we're playing it like this is it. And my character starts out, okay, I'm going to fight him, and they beat the hell out of me, right? And by the end of it, I'm all black and blue, and my face is all smashed up, and they're beating me up. And Sally the ghost is watching helplessly as all of these werewolves are killing me. And finally, they're going to stake me. They're going to put a stake in my chest. And right as this person's about to stake me, Sally jumps into his body and goes, "Hi, take the stake." And I'm like, oh, and then it starts the fight all over again with Sally jumping in and out of werewolves and me punching out everyone that she jumps into. She'll be like, I'll be fighting a guy, like, ah! Sally jumps into him, she goes, "Here, right there." And I'll be like, bam, knock him out. She'll jump into the next guy, and, she'll be like, right here, and I'll take a sledgehammer and smash her in the face, and then every time I knock someone out, it knocks her into the next guy. So this weird musical chairs thing where the ghost is possessing bodies, and I'm knocking them out one by one as she jumps into the next one. And by the way, it's killing her as she's doing this. And finally at the end, there's one guy left, one werewolf, big dude, big guy. And Sally, I'm like, okay, I got this. I can take one guy, no problem. And then Sally jumps into him, and I'm like, no, you're dying. Don't, stop possessing people. And she's like, no, I have to. And I'm like, why? And she's like, because this one's for me. And she comes and she kisses me. And then we shoot it with this big guy grabbing me and kissing me. So I'm making out with this big guy. And then as the camera comes around, it's Sally, and I'm making out with her. And the camera comes around again, and I'm making out with this big guy. And that was my favorite scene in Being Human, right there. I just spoiled it for you all.
It's already time for the last question.
The last question.
Time flies.
Hello, I would like to ask, what was your favorite scene in Clone Wars, or favorite episode?
I thought the last ones were great, because I think of the last 4 as one big episode. It's kind of a big Star Wars movie. And Maul has that wonderful thing where no one knows, the world is about to end, and the only guy that has a plan on how we can save the world is the bad guy. And everything he's saying is the truth. And that was scary, And he says things like, "Too late for what? The Republic to fall? It already has, and you just can't see it. There is no justice, no law, no order, except for the one that will replace it. The time of the Jedi has passed. They cannot defeat Sidious. But together, you and I can." I thought that was great stuff. I thought Dave wrote fantastic stuff. I thought that was a very challenging, interesting scene for the bad guy to have the only good plan, and all the good girl has to do is kill her best friend to save the universe. Crazy stuff.
Thank you.
No problem.
Yeah, let me say thank you. Thank you very much. Hope to see you again, maybe next year at FatCon, because it's all about Star Wars next year. And
I know Star Wars. I know every alien in Star Wars.
I heard, yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you very much. And let's hear it once again for Sam Witwer.